Here we are again, um, my friends. I received a lot of messages over time, and I'll begin with an apology because I tried to look up the people that wrote me and asked for a review or some comments on Krico rifles. I've owned these for probably 20 years, different models of Kricos, and that's Krico, which is kind of short for a German long name, but all you need to know is Krico. And I was surprised when I received these requests because I always thought Krico was so obscure, no one's going to want me to talk about Kricos. And yet the requests came in, so I thought, well, that's fantastic, but I didn't have a Krico. So I managed to find a Krico, and it's fun saying that word Krico, but anyway, and why? Because the Krico is an exceptional bolt-action rifle. All of the Kricos I owned were remarkably accurate. The action is machined perfectly. And even though I don't think everybody buys a rifle and runs out and checks to see what the Rockwell hardness is and all these other characteristics of the rifle, they just want a rifle that works, which makes sense because their lives are busy. But people like me go out and check these types of things, and the Krico, which you can probably buy for $700 or $900 or whatever, depending on condition, is a glass hard action. These predate the Tikka T3, which I have on the table. Here's a 223. Now, I monkeyed around with this, with the bolt handle, and this is a very smooth action. It's undoubtedly true. This is also a synthetic stock. The metal is 2017, 2018. I forget when I bought this. It's a great rifle. It's accurate. It's also made by the most modern and least expensive methods. The barrel has to be excellent because it's so accurate. This particular Tikka T3 is in 223, and I do have the more modern still T3X or whatever it's called. They just changed the ejection port a little bit. And actually, it's funny, I'm sure there were thousands of people that wrote them, but I wrote them a couple of emails and I said, you know, this ejection port is too small. It's you can't get at the cartridge. And they opened that up and maybe made some other changes. I just put this bigger bolt handle because it's easier to hang on to. And actually, I don't even use the rifle in this stock. I put this stock on for a video some time ago. I can't remember what we were doing, but I usually use the Tikka Sporter stock, which is kind of an orange laminate. You probably know it. Anyway, so this isn't a video about the Tikka T3, but I don't blame anybody to buy one of the train loads full of Tikka T3s that have left Finland. And I guess the parent company, Beretta, that owns Tikka now, is very happy with this design. I mean, there are a lot of brilliant minds in Finland. It's a smooth action. But long before the T3 was the Krico. And this is sort of from Germany, which is part of my ancestry. And it's a remarkably smooth action. Now, the Tikka is engineered for smoothness because somehow bolt-action rifles are measured based on their smoothness. Of course, everything else has to work. Anyway, for what it's worth, the German metallurgy and so forth couldn't get away from that glass hardness that they kind of demand in that country. And I invite any of you to go and buy a Krico. And I actually did a few tests before filming. You tell me which is smoother, the Tikka T3 2017, well, whatever, T3X. Go buy a Tikka or try one, and then somehow get a Krico. Now, I'm not. This gun is worth a few tanks of gas. That's since everything's so expensive these days. That seems to be how people measure, or some friends of mine measure the cost of a gun. This is like a few tanks of gas. This action is so smooth. The surface hardness of this metal, which I won't give you the numbers for because I can't remember them. It's hard to remember things when you're filming live, which is a fantastic exercise, and everybody should try to do this kind of thing. You're forced to express what you know, hopefully seamlessly and hopefully in such a way that it's interesting. This Krico is a great gun. Oh, I have to include the original apology. All of the people, or the people that wrote me asking for reviews, I tried to look through the hundreds of comments, and there are just too many. I couldn't find you. I usually want to, and I'm sincere, I want to acknowledge who wrote me, like review the Krico. So I just couldn't find you. There were just too many to go through. I should have highlighted the comments. Anyway, beautifully made rifle, cheap for what you're getting. You've got the removable magazine. This is aluminum, the trigger guard, but the bottom metal is aluminum, no big deal. You've got a decent stock, some kind of walnut. I don't think it's beechwood. Very unique receiver. If you look at it, you can see you have a typical front receiver ring, typical rear receiver ring, and then I don't know what you would call this extension, but it's kind of a split bridge in the back. But it's not a split rear receiver ring entirely, because this part is not split. Anyhow, these rifles are a steal. Oh, those of you who know Kricos are probably wondering what this is. This is a safety, and I'll show you what somebody did, not me. They decided for some reason that this pivoting safety was no good. I don't know why. I've owned a few Kricos. They all work perfectly, and they all shoot better than almost all modern guns. But this person obviously was dissatisfied with the safety location, so they went to all this trouble. They ground out with a Dremel, I assume, or something similar, the wood stock, and the safety is here. So you push up on this. Oh, check if the action is cocked. Sorry, you push down. I was trying to put the wrong direction. So in this position, the gun is on safe. In this position, the gun's on fire. So I guess this must have been some kind of a stalking rifle that they felt this was too much of a movement, or maybe it clicks. I don't know. Who knows what inspiration caused this modification, but I mean, I may clean up the stock, but other than that, altogether, it's not a bad idea. And I mean, this gouging out of the wood is not pretty. I think you've probably all seen something like this. Other than that, it's all good. And now they did all this, and I bought the rifle, and I looked at the bolt face, and I don't think anybody even fired this 20 rounds. There's some marks on the stock, and that's about it. So I got this Krico, and I have to say, it was probably 1/3 the cost of this Tikka, and to me, this was a fantastic buy. Now they disclosed that the rear sight was missing, and that's fine. These are cheap and all over the place. You can even take it off of another rifle. Some of them come with double set triggers, and some of them come with single set triggers. I had a 30-06 that you pushed forward. There was a trigger in here from France. I just can't remember the name. Beautiful trigger, fantastic rifle, and of course out of production. But whoever wrote me, like those people that wrote me, this was a great suggestion. These Kricos, completely unsung heroes. Some of them marketed by, like I looked it up in books, Husky or Husqvarna, I presume, but in the book it was Husky something something. You know, the American market is vast and varied, and sometimes names and details get mixed up. But anyway, there it is. So that's the the Krico. Oh, you're probably wondering what caliber, 222. So I may throw a 223 reamer in there. Takes a few minutes. I could open that chamber up to 223, but I probably won't, out of respect for the rifle, because I'm sure this is going to be a one-hole 100-yard rifle. And I mean, that safety is cool. It made a noise just now, but the bolt wasn't cocked. Anyway, very cool. And then on the table, just for fun, because I was sitting here thinking about the smoothness of actions, and this Krico with this glass hard metal and the narrow diameter bolt. I almost forgot to mention that. If you want to design a smooth bolt, reduce the diameter. They run like glass. The Tikka is not quite as small. Anyway, and then here's my Carl Gustaf, which is just, I mean, this is a 270. Of course, it depends on the position of the rifle, but this is an unbelievable rifle. As usual, they had to stop making them. I have no idea why. Anyway, Sweden was on the right track. Anyway, get one of these. They're like maybe $1,000, $800 or $900. It's easily one of the best hunting rifles or target rifles. They're fantastic. I think I made a video about a 30-06, but I've owned these. They all shoot way better than I do, and just fantastic. But again, I'm getting lost. So there it is, the Krico, quite a unique action. I'll show you the top again. It has all the modern features, the removable magazine, glass smooth, excellent machining, just a perfection rifle, probably well ahead of its time. And the Tikka T3, they don't need any advertising. They've sold countless Tikka T3s by now. And then the Carl Gustaf, which still has the floor plate. And some people would say it's an old school rifle, but I mean, what does that mean? So probably a little bit disconnected in my thoughts this early evening, but it's always fun speaking with you, and thank you for joining me. This Krico I'll keep, and I'll put a decent scope on it, and I'm sure it'll shoot to, they all shoot a ½ inch if you do your part, and that's probably a 25-year-old rifle. So, as they say, nothing new under the sun. Anyway, thanks for joining me. We'll see you next time.